In our last section, we will discuss sanitary facilities and equipment and what it means for a food establishment to be a sanitary facility. To start, sanitary food establishments should work to avoid physical contaminants. Physical contaminants are foreign objects that are accidentally introduced into food. These can be objects such as metal shavings from can openers, staples from cartons, glass from broken light bulbs, blades from plastic or rubber scrapers, bread ties, fingernails, hair, or bandages, dirt, or even bones. To prevent contamination from lighting sources, all food establishments should use shatter-resistant light bulbs, protective light covers, and light shields for heat lamps. Water supply emergencies, or WSEs, have their own protocols and must be handled based on what the water supply emergency is. For boil water advisories, chemical contamination notices, or pressure reduction problems, the food establishment water source may serve as a source of contamination for food, equipment, utensils, and hands. Unsafe water is also a vector in the transmission of disease. In the case of a chemical contamination or total loss of pressure with no toilet facilities, the establishment shall be closed immediately. Boil water procedures are one of the more common WSEs. In the event of a boil water advisory, you should unhook the ice machine and discard the existing ice. You can use bagged ice from an approved source outside of the area affected by the boil water advisory. Water fountains, fountain drink machines, and coffee and tea machines should also be unhooked. Bottled water and bottled or canned soda can be used, and the coffee and tea should be made with boiled water or commercially bottled water. Sprayers and misters over food should not be used, and temporary hand washing stations that use either boiled water or commercially bottled water should be set up. Disposable single-service items or properly washed utensils, tableware, or cookware in boiled or commercially bottled water should be used. Fruits or vegetables should be washed with boiled or commercially bottled water. If the food establishment is cooking with or using water as an ingredient, only boiled water or water that is commercially bottled should be used. For boiled water, the water must remain at a rolling boil for at least 3 minutes. After a boil water advisory is lifted, all water lines, water connections, ice machines, and soda machines should be flushed, cleaned, and sanitized in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. Water filters that were affected by the boil water advisory should be replaced. For more information, contact your local health department. Backflow can lead to water contamination and contamination of food establishments. Backflow is a reversal of water flow from that normally intended. In other words, backflow is the unwanted flow of water in the reverse direction. To prevent backflow, a direct connection shall not exist between the sewerage system and a drain originating from the equipment, portable equipment, or from where utensils are placed. To prevent backflow from occurring at your food establishment, you will need to use backflow prevention devices and proper air gaps. An air gap is a physical gap between the supply inlet and flood level rim of a fixture. There must be a gap 2 times the diameter of the inlet, but it must be a minimum of a 1-inch gap. An example of where air gaps are appropriate is the drains from ice machines and dishwashers. For the backflow prevention device, there are approved inline devices that attach to sinks, faucets, and certain plumbing that prevent back siphonage and backflow. Hazardous materials such as chemicals for cleaning have their own rules for use and storage. Food establishments should only purchase chemicals that are approved and necessary for use in a restaurant or food establishment. Hazardous chemicals shall be stored in a way that does not contaminate food, equipment, utensils, linens, or single-service items. Chemicals should also be properly labeled with the common name of the material. Pictured is an example of an inappropriate chemical in a kitchen. Tractor fluid has no place in a kitchen. Some areas of your food establishment may be designated for employee use or for items for employee use. Any areas that are designated for employees to eat, drink, and use tobacco should be located so that food, equipment, linens, and single-service items are protected from contamination. Lockers or other suitable facilities should be provided and designated in an area where contamination of food, equipment, utensils, and single-service items cannot occur. In food service establishments, at least 3 types of sinks generally exist: a hand wash sink, a mop or service sink, and a 3-compartment sink. Hand washing sinks must be available in sufficient numbers and located in areas where food preparations are taking place. Hand sinks shall have soap and a means of hand drying available, and hand sinks must have a sign or poster that notifies the food employee to wash their hands. A mop or service sink shall be provided in the establishment for the disposal of mop water or other similar waste. Finally, sinks that are used for food preparation or utensil washing may not be used as a hand washing sink. Other things to consider for sanitary physical facilities in food establishments include things like materials used in the buildings, restrooms, and heating and air units. Floors, walls, and ceiling surfaces shall be smooth, durable, non-absorbent, and easily cleanable. Light bulbs shall be shielded, coated, or otherwise shatter-resistant in areas where there is exposed food, clean equipment, utensils, linens, or unwrapped single-service and single-use items. Heating, ventilation, and air conditioning shall be designed and installed so that air intake and exhaust vents do not cause contamination of food, food contact surfaces, equipment, or utensils. Restrooms and toilets shall be completely enclosed and provided with a tight-fitting and self-closing door when opening directly into the food service establishment. Living or sleeping quarters must be separated from food establishments by complete partitioning and solid self-closing doors. Pest management is essential for a sanitary facility and is one of our last topics. Effective pest management is done by denying pests entry into your food establishment. To do this, you should deny pests food, water, and shelter. Disposing of garbage quickly, storing food and supplies quickly, removing all unnecessary cardboard, and cleaning the establishment often and thoroughly will all be helpful in pest management. You should also use reputable food supplies and inspect all incoming shipments of food and supplies. It is also helpful to work with a licensed pest control operator, or PCO, to eliminate the pests that do gain entry into your establishment. Protect any outer openings of the establishment by closing or sealing all gaps in the floors, walls, and ceilings. All exterior doors should be tight-fitting and no visible gaps should exist. Windows, doors, and vents that are kept open must have 16 mesh per 1-inch screens in them or have properly designed air curtains. If pests do manage to gain entry into a food establishment, there are signs that will alert you to their presence. We will now briefly cover some signs of pest infestation. Some signs of a cockroach infestation include a strong, oily odor, droppings that appear similar to grains of pepper, and capsule-shaped egg cases that can be brown, dark red, or black, and smooth in appearance. Signs of a rodent infestation will include holes, signs of gnawing, nesting materials scattered in areas such as newspaper scraps, cloth, grass pieces and feathers, rodent droppings, and tracks. To trap insects or pests, you can use traps and baits as long as they meet certain conditions. Any insect or pest control devices shall be designed to retain the pests within the device and shall not be located over a food preparation area, food surface, utensils, linens, or single-service items. The devices should be regularly checked and maintained as needed. Some examples of pest control devices are bug lights, fly strips, glue boards, spring traps, bait stations, or food-grade pesticides applied by a PCO. Our last section of the Food Manager's course is garbage storage. For garbage that is stored inside the food establishment, A receptacle should be placed in each area of the food establishment where refuse is generated or commonly discarded. If disposable towels are used at hand-washing sinks and lavatories, then a waste receptacle shall be located at each lavatory or group of lavatories. A toilet room used by females shall be provided with a covered receptacle for sanitary napkins. Inside the food establishment, receptacles that contain food residue must be covered unless in continuous use and after they are filled. Refuse must be removed at a frequency that minimizes odor or other conditions that attract insects and rodents. Outdoor garbage storage areas shall be constructed of a non-absorbent material such as concrete, kept clean and free of debris or liquid waste, and shall be sloped to drain. Garbage receptacles shall be durable, clean, insect and rodent resistant, leak-proof and non-absorbent, have tight-fitting lids, doors, or covers. Cardboard or other packing material that does not contain food residue may be stored outside uncovered if it does not create a rodent harborage and is regularly collected. Dumpster drain plugs must be in place, and refuse must be removed at a frequency that minimizes odor or other conditions that attracts insects and rodents.